Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're decoding a really fascinating 34-point psychological and spiritual checklist. It's designed to help you finally break your most repetitive life patterns. If you've ever felt like you just keep learning the exact same difficult lessons over and over again, well, this explainer is exactly what you need. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so let's tackle this wild concept right off the bat. Whether or not you actually believe reality is literally some kind of soul-farming recycling matrix, the source material makes a great point. We don't need verifiable evidence of the afterlife to make use of this idea. Actually, this framework is an incredibly grounded, powerful metaphor for examining our own lives, right here and right now.
To make all of this actionable, we're going to treat this checklist like a syllabus. We'll break it down into 5 key modules: the Reality Matrix curriculum, Mastering Your Inner World, Navigating Relationships in Earth, the Profile of a Graduate, and finally, your Daily Soul Audit.
Module 1, the Reality Matrix curriculum, Breaking Free from Unconscious Patterns.
So, the absolutely crucial point of this first module isn't about adopting dogmatic spiritual beliefs. Not at all. It's really about facing the core lessons of what it actually means to be human and taking radical ownership of your behavior. I love how the source material immediately grounds these heavy, sometimes esoteric ideas into a totally practical curriculum. We aren't talking about achieving mystical visions here. We're talking about everyday survival, real growth, and learning how to look at the fear of death or our obsession with our own egos without flinching.
Now, if we're truly students in Earth School, our ultimate goal is defined here as liberation. And in this context, liberation simply means waking up. It means you're no longer letting old fears, attachments, and traumas drive the car. It's all about stopping that compulsive repetition where we just keep doing the exact same things that hurt us, somehow hoping for a different result.
Moving right along to Module 2, Mastering Your Inner World, Ego, Grief, and the Inner Critic. Synthesizing several profound lessons from the text here, we actually get a really clear roadmap for inner peace. First up, it warns us against over-identifying with our egos, our history, or our social status. It also challenges us to stop running away from grief. Unprocessed grief that gets denied almost always turns into bitterness and fear, but when it's witnessed, it becomes compassion. We also have to swap out our inner critic's constant self-attack for disciplined self-respect. And crucially, we have to avoid the trap of spiritual superiority. You can't use your growth as an excuse to claim you're more awakened or higher vibration than everyone else. Real humility is the true marker of maturity here.
This brilliantly illustrates a really common trap that keeps us completely stuck in those cycles of suffering. Just think about this distinction for a second. Are you taking healthy responsibility for what you can actually influence? Or are you exhausting yourself trying to exert control, like demanding that life and everyone in it perfectly obey your personal preferences? Learning the difference between these two is a massive step toward that liberation we just talked about.
Along those same lines, we have to learn the difference between accountability and shame. Accountability is simply acknowledging, hey, I did something harmful, or I made a mistake, which, believe it or not, actually creates the space for growth. Self-erasure, on the other hand, is spiraling into that deep, dark shame of believing I am irredeemably bad. As the source points out, real growth absolutely requires accountability. But you can't grow if you're constantly trying to erase yourself.
As we look at a few of these additional inner lessons, particularly the need to be right, I want you to ask yourself a pretty tough question. Do you prioritize understanding and finding the truth, or are you just obsessed with winning arguments? Are you trying to preserve this identity as the person who always knows best? Honestly, releasing that need to be right is incredibly free.
That brings us to Module 3, Navigating Relationships in Earth, Boundaries, Cycles, and Stewardship.
So now that we've looked inward, we get to take these lessons out into the messy, beautiful world of human connections and earthly responsibilities. Lesson 16 in the text tackles those toxic relationship cycles we so easily get trapped in. It shows us, step by step, that true relationship mastery means identifying if you're playing the helpless victim, the compulsive savior, or the punishing enemy. To step out of that whole cycle, you have to take absolute ownership of your own choices without trying to carry the weight of everyone else's life. You literally can't rescue everyone, and trying to usually just perpetuates the suffering.
Now, this is a truly vital distinction from the source that trips so many people up. Forgiveness does not mean denial. It definitely doesn't mean you call harmful behavior acceptable, or drop your boundaries, or reconcile with unsafe people. Real forgiveness simply means you refuse to let another person's wrongdoing permanently dictate your inner peace.
Essentially, you can completely forgive someone while still keeping the front door locked.
These earthly lessons, they require a massive shift in perspective. Graduation from Earth School means showing integrity even when no one benefits. It means doing what's right even when it costs you money or convenience or the approval of your peers. We're talking about moving away from a scarcity mindset of panic and hoarding, that constant anxiety that there's never enough, and moving towards a life of grounded stewardship and generosity. And just as importantly, it means treating your physical body with real respect. Your body isn't a machine, and it's definitely not a prison. It's a living responsibility that deserves rest, nourishment, and actual care.
Ultimately, navigating Earth all comes down to presence. Lesson 34 tells us that we have to learn to inhabit the actual moment. Think about it. We spend so much of our time constantly reliving the past, rehearsing future catastrophes in our heads, chasing the next high, or just endlessly waiting for real life to begin. But true learning, that only happens right now, completely in the present.
Which leads us to Module 4, the profile of a graduate, awareness over automatic reaction.
So, let's say we successfully study this curriculum. What does graduation actually look like in practice? First off, let's dispel a major myth right now. The text makes it perfectly clear that graduating isn't about becoming some perfect, emotionless robot floating somewhere above the rest of humanity. It is absolutely not about total detachment. Instead, a true graduate is someone deeply, deeply rooted in reality. They're grounded in a few very specific traits. For one, they are super difficult to manipulate, simply because they don't fall for fear-mongering, flattery, or tribal hatred. They love freely, but they don't try to own the people they love. They face death, loss, and uncertainty with real honesty rather than hiding in denial. And most importantly, they consistently choose conscious awareness over knee-jerk automatic reactions day after day. In short, they don't just react, they respond.
And finally, Module 5, your daily soul audit, practical philosophy for everyday life.
To actually help us reach that graduation stage, we need a deeply practical tool that you can literally start using today. The source beautifully reframes our recurring nightmares, like, say, repeatedly choosing unsafe or exploitative partners. Instead of viewing these as punishments, or somehow signs that we deserve mistreatment, it suggests we view them as continuous reincarnation lessons. Basically, life is just going to keep presenting variations of the exact same wound until we finally learn our own worth, establish firm boundaries, and find the courage to walk away.
So to interrupt these painful cycles, the author provides a 10-question soul audit. These are piercing questions meant to be asked regularly to keep you aligned with the curriculum. And while the full list is incredibly insightful, I want us to focus entirely on 3 of the most powerful questions from this list to close out our explainer today.
Number 1, I want you to truly pause and reflect on this one right now. What fear is currently making your choices for you? When you look at your recent decisions, in your career, your relationships, your daily habits, which ones were quietly dictated by fear? Are you staying in a situation because you genuinely want to be there, or just because you're terrified of the unknown?
Number 2, where do you need a boundary rather than forgiveness, or forgiveness rather than revenge? Look really closely at your most difficult relationships. Are you exhausting yourself trying to forgive someone when what you actually need to do is just build a taller fence? Or, on the flip side, are you holding on to this bitter desire for revenge when genuine forgiveness, letting go of their hold on your inner life, would actually set you free?
And finally, as you navigate your own earthly curriculum today, I leave you with this last provocative thought. What can you release right now without abandoning yourself? What heavy expectation, what toxic cycle, or what desperate need for external validation can you just drop today while still remaining entirely whole? Because honestly, the exact moment you realize you can let go of the things harming you without losing yourself, well, that's when your real graduation begins. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer, and keep learning.